Hello, welcome back to the Friends of Zeus podcast. This is episode to be determined later.
I think it's 190.
We'll call it 190 for now.
Yeah.
But if it doesn't end up being 190, I want our guest or our subscriber to know that it may change later.
Okay.
Um, Tonight is Mike's show to host. He's going to steer the boat. And well, let's just
I'll
kick
I'll take it away.
take it
Well,
away.
one little bit of business for all of our viewer out there. You can mark your calendars. We're gonna do our annual spectacular Halloween costume episode in the next about 2 weeks from now. So be on the lookout for that. It'll be
All
on
right.
all the podcast platforms that
Part
you've
four,
yeah, our fourth one.
Halloween 4,
Wow.
the return of Michael Myers.
Yeah, man. All the usual suspects. Um, So tonight, let's see, today is October the 8th, and I'm saying that because I
1 year almost exactly from
yeah, from October 7th,
yeah.
from the Holocaust Junior over there in
That's
Israel.
the calendar section segment of the show.
Yeah.
We
Get
Did
know
ready.
you just make that up? Holocaust Junior? Is
Yeah, I
that,
just made that up. I
is that
just made
what
it
it's
up.
called?
I just
Oh,
made it up.
that's a good
I've
name.
never heard that before. I'm not trying to be offensive.
It's clever.
It was a horrible, horrible event.
Good.
Um, and we can get into that a little bit too. Basically, I for this episode, I didn't want to just stick to one particular topic, like not that that's ever stopped us before. Um, but in general, it's another kind of check-in episode. We are less than a month out from this election. We've got natural disasters that have just happened and are happening in the next 24 hours down off the in the Gulf Coast, Florida. We've got wars that are creeping up and have been for months now, but are really getting pretty hot, like all over the world. I mean, you've got Israel with their 7 different fronts or however many people they're fighting. We still got Ukraine and Russia churning on. Their ratings are dropped with all these other ones, so they've got to really Russia and Ukraine need to really step it up to get back onto the news pages, but they're still out there. And of
Hey,
course,
I
we
got
have
an idea. Why don't
yeah,
we give people money in North Carolina to survive
yeah,
in an amount that is more than what we are giving people that are, I don't know, not in our country
yeah.
or
No, that's part of this whole thing. I mean, we'll get into that too. And then we
here.
also well, just let me finish setting the table. Then we still have China licking its chops over there with Taiwan. We've got and this is a story that like doesn't seem like anyone's covering, but in Mexico, I mean, Mexico is it's in North America, obviously. It's a huge economy. Um, it's a huge country with, tons of people in there, and it is been basically over the last few years becoming a lawless society. I mean, it's really frightening when you see what's going on down there. And
Isn't Mexico City considered the most dangerous city in the world?
I I don't know, but I'm just saying the cartels, all that it just seems like bananas going on down there.
Mhm.
America's hat, Canada seems to be pretty quiet, but there's still some people.
I like to call them our Mexican neighbors to the north.
There you go. Um, So, the economy, like whatever's going on, news media is a disaster. I mean, everybody just seems really tense. Like there's just a lot going on. And getting back to a common theme on our show and where I kind of started with this like thought process and just wanted to get all your guys' input on all this stuff is this Hurricane Helene that came through. Yeah, again, Hurricane Helene came through. Everyone thought it was going to hit and destroy parts of Florida, which it had a lot of damage down there. But it
They're saving that
really,
for Milton.
yeah, they're saving that for Milton. But it really gut punched Western North Carolina, Eastern Tennessee, Northwestern Georgia, um, a little bit of South Carolina. I'm just saying this thing, and no one expected a hurricane to impact a mountainous region of Western North Carolina as severe as it has. Whole towns wiped out, all kinds of mixed messages coming out of there. And one thing, because we have this media environment now, any story that happens gets churned through our media like a sausage factory, and it comes out on the other end. Like, you don't want to know how it's made, but there's stories coming out in North Carolina of, oh, the federal government's trying to claim land because there's lithium there they want to mine. There's helicopters blocking runways. FEMA is confiscating stuff. There's people, like, the death toll is 10 times what they're reporting. Um, no, you've got it wrong. FEMA is totally doing a great job, and everyone's getting everything they need, and everything in between. I mean, it seems like we are so dysfunctional right now as a
Crazy.
society that
And
anything that happens gets put through this house of mirrors fun show called our culture and our media. And I just like threw up my hand. I'm like, you know what? I don't have time to hunt all these things down. It sounds bananas. And the worst part is some of it sounds completely plausible,
It's
which
so
is
sad.
also upsetting.
well, and here's an interesting thing. Biden hasn't been on the air in weeks, and now he comes on the air and says, "You guys down in Tampa evacuate." And I have people in Tampa, and they're like, "I'm in a no flood zone. I don't need to evacuate." You know what I mean? Like, this is going to, again,
He's
and
been
I was talking to Tom
Zeus.
about it the other.
He's done a few press conferences. Actually, I mean, it's kind of unusual. He came out to the press briefing room and took the podium a couple days ago.
Yeah.
And he's made some other statements about Helene and people getting what they need. He even went down to, I think, Carolina and
But it
visited.
almost seems supportive of things to come. That's my thing. This is really a prime example of I know I quote myself on this a lot about the choreography versus conspiracy, but I was talking to Tom about it last night. And the thing about it that I find really supports what I'm saying is they're literally, what if, let's just throw a what if out there, that whatever agency, whatever group, they go, oh, there's a hurricane there. How can we capitalize on it? Like, you follow what I'm saying? So, like, they're not creating the situation, they're simply dancing to the music that's already there. And this is a really good example of it. Like, Asheville, it's a mountain town that's flooded. I know it is possible, but I've been to that area and it's a very mountainous region. I mean, when you talk mountain town, Asheville is a total mountain town. I could see it being partially flooded, but not the whole city, which is what they're saying is going. So again, I go choreography. I go, they heard a hurricane was hitting and they were like, okay, how can we capitalize on this? And that is what I'm
So,
feeling
but
going.
how are they? Yeah, I mean, I don't know how you capitalize on this. That's what.
Well, you got a whole town that all you got to do is take care of water damage, and it's right next to, if it's true, one of the largest lithium deposits in the world. So you take care of some water damage, and suddenly you've got a whole infrastructure that's already built in, and you just have to do a little cleanup. It's very it's very contrived, I'm sure, but
Well, we lost a viewer. We
great.
gotta step it up. Oh, she's coming
Oh,
back.
there she is.
Okay. I was about to say
I
we
don't know what
lost a
happened.
viewer.
Zoom kicked me out.
Hi, Des.
Yeah,
Hi, sorry. I don't know what happened.
and I mean, with that point, Zeus, I mean, again, that's why I'm posing the question. I'm not here to defend any one thing. I just think a lot of this is, as my sisters would say, cuckoo bananas. The stuff that we're
Whoa.
Doesn't that
dealing with
speak
right now.
to doesn't it speak to just the mistrust of the government? I mean, the slightest thing happens, you're like, oh my God, the government planned all this. They're doing all that. They're trying to
Hmm.
steal all the lithium and the gold and who knows what else.
Yeah.
I mean, it's crazy.
It's
And
kind
where
of
is it?
yeah.
Why do we not have reporters? Where's like in the old days, Dan Rather would
Yeah.
put his windbreaker on and get his ass right out there in the middle of a hurricane. I haven't seen anything like that from these guys.
All the footage I'm seeing is individuals. It's not news stations. And I'm with you. Like, what? How is it that it's a week and a half ago and there's all this stuff that's still completely unknown? I mean, they still don't know how many people died. It could be 1,000 people
Right.
that died.
I
And with
keep
you,
hearing stories about kids' bodies and stuck in the mud everywhere.
About bodies being found in trees.
yeah, I heard about
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
But to your point, Tom, and it's kind of what I'm kind of
We're
riffing
back,
on
guys.
here
Sorry.
is what I'm kind of riffing on here is it's sort of like we're just how dysfunctional and how damaged we are right now or something. I don't know what it is as a society because this hurricane comes in and I remember hurricanes would come in like Andrew and everyone would be like donate to the Red Cross, give blood and go into blood donation sites and I was like, man, that really sucks and we're going to rebuild and there'd be people fighting about like insurance companies suck and the Red Cross needs to donate more money that was like that was it. Now we get a hurricane and comes in and it's like the party is purposely trying to keep Republican voters from getting to the polls. And I'm like, that's bizarre and that's crazy. And then I'm like,
It crossed my
I
mind.
I believe
I
it.
hate
Like,
to say,
it's like I mean, if someone connected the dots for me,
are they,
I
I'd be
wouldn't
like,
be
are they
shocked.
letting those Western Carolina people die just so they can't
Yeah.
vote next month?
I mean, I don't believe it, but I could easily be told. I mean, I could easily accept it without much evidence because things are so bananas. It would
I
play
mean,
right
but how
into
much? I
it.
mean, the election year, and we're so close to the election. That's really playing a part in this, isn't it?
It is.
It's
It is.
really ramping up all of the the fervor and the rumors.
Yeah.
A lot of it's, them versus us.
Dude, I every once in a while, just for giggles, I check some sites that are like super crazy. And there's people that are saying,
MSNBC.
yeah, I mean, yeah, not mainstream stuff. But I mean, there's people that are trying to put out stories that the government is actually controlling the weather and causing these
Okay, that's
hurricanes.
just
I'm
nonsense.
seeing a lot of that.
I'm
Yeah.
saying it's like you just name it. It's
And
like
people
all the
that were
crazy
like
people are out, man.
people
Everything's
that were
on the table.
otherwise sane and normal just recently are
Yeah.
posting stuff about weather control.
I think the whole like societally we're becoming manic. Like
Yes, there is a mania to it for
like
sure.
like I mean I don't know if the lithium thing is true, but I will say there's a lot of people talking about it. And
It doesn't
I
make sense though. Who's taking the lithium? The government? What are they going to do with it?
Businesses, corporations, not
yeah,
the
yeah.
government.
It's like,
Apparently, and this is could be
How are they going to get there?
bullshit. So I want
Well,
to state that
let's take a rewind back to reality
mhm,
for a second
yes.
and just kind of like maybe say the things that are happening and then how maybe they can be tied to
yeah.
bullshit or
Yeah.
maybe real stuff. I don't know. Okay, so this hurricane hit Florida on Thursday,
Yeah.
Last
the
Thursday. Okay.
25th, 25th,
It was more than a week ago.
Thursday was the
26th.
third.
So
The 26th. It's going to be 2 weeks this Thursday.
Thursday the 26th, it hits Florida as a category 3.
Something like
4
that.
quickly, yes, continued to hit, turned up north. Now, the big part about that was, and I don't know if anybody has really looked and heard a lot of this part, but there was before, like when this was even like just a tropical wave, they were talking about this turns into a hurricane and it continues to hit the coast of or the United States and goes north, has a northerly path. Then it's going to collide with this other very large low pressure system that's already over like the Ozark area.
Hmm.
Okay.
When two low pressure systems collide like that, it's called a Fujiwara effect. Were you guys seeing a lot of this at all?
I've heard, I did not know the name, but I did hear about the second cold front or low pressure front, and that was what
Like one
made it
hurricane.
worse.
Okay, but it's not a front, it's a system. So,
System.
and I mean, a hurricane is nothing but a low pressure system, really. So
Severe.
when two low pressure systems collide like that, they do like a dance. They kind of spin, causing a more centered like area of, like when like a figure skater like spins around really fast,
Right.
and it causes that like friction within like the center.
Mm-hmm.
It's more momentum.
Centrifugal.
So that occurs, but then one of the pressure systems overcomes the other. In this case, it was actually the low pressure system that was already in place that overcame the hurricane remnant low pressure system. So honestly, everyone's got it wrong. It's actually not the hurricane that continued to move forward and hit North Carolina. That's actually false, but whatever. It's a lot easier to explain to people when you say, the remnants of the hurricane, whatever.
Gotcha.
Anyway, so that is what happened that caused all the flooding to occur as north into the mainland area. And they were actually saying that it was going to be more like the Ohio Valley area that was going to get this massive flooding. That was already being talked about before the hurricane even was a hurricane.
Yeah, I missed all of that.
So I mean, to say that like this is like no one knew about this is like unprecedented. It is unprecedented. I mean, This is a very rare effect, and it doesn't usually happen this northerly into like a coast a region of land, but it's not something that's never happened before ever.
So are you saying that? Are you just pointing that out, or are you saying that like we should have been more prepared because people did know it was a possibility?
What I'm saying is it was a Fujiwara effect, not a result of global warming, like everyone is saying.
Yeah, I hadn't even gotten into that yet, but yeah.
So I'm just setting that there. So then, but I was actually in Mexico, in Cancun, when on Wednesday, the 25th, when the hurricane hit. Well, it didn't really hit. It wasn't.
It came by.
It just kind of flirted with the Mexican coast as a Category 1 hurricane. And at that point, me and Craig we were less worried about what was going to happen to us there, because honestly, where we were at, we didn't get shit. I mean, our hotel didn't flood, none of that. But
kind of like one of them Kansas thunderstorms.
Did you hear his ass? Really,
Yeah.
it was nothing. It honestly was nothing more than a Kansas storm.
Tell Craig to come on camera and tell us what he just said.
He already left.
He already left.
He said
it
it wasn't nothing more like one of them Kansas thunderstorms.
Yeah.
Which really it wasn't. I mean, but whatever. Where was I going with that? Anyway, so we were kind of less worried about what was going to happen in the moment. We were more worried about, because they were saying that Atlanta was going to be massively flooded and like all these power outages in Atlanta. And we were supposed to fly into Atlanta on Saturday. So we were like, well, shit, should we move our flight to Sunday? Is that going to should we maybe try to go to Minneapolis? Because, that's where Delta goes. So that's kind of where we're.
Do you think that you were hearing about it because you were in a place that was potentially affected by it? Because I'm not saying it wasn't in the news here. I just don't recall anyone saying that ahead of, but I've been trying not to pay attention to stuff lately. So
I would say that I probably knew a little bit more about.
Sorry, Jess.
Sorry.
I think honestly, I was just a little bit more aware of what was going on because I followed meteorology stuff.
Okay.
Because I'm used to that, and I'm from Kansas. Craig lives in Kansas. Like, we have a lot of weather apps on our phones and on our we can act like we care about radars and shit. Like, we're used to having to look at them and be weather aware.
Understood.
So I think that may be a little bit to my advantage of knowing this stuff.
Okay.
I don't know, but anyway, so nothing. I mean, we flew into Atlanta out of Atlanta with only a 5-minute delay. It was no issue. We were looking at the Atlanta airport, which is a very large airport. It wasn't flooded. There was no damaged planes. There was no looked like wind debris or any of that. So,
we're more familiar with what a hook is, so we know what to look for when it comes to a
Why is he putting on the accent so heavy?
Accent? What accent?
I have no idea.
Why did he say that?
It's coming back.
I said what I said.
And I'll say it again.
So we can maybe that's like the voice behind the curtain over there.
Yeah, yeah.
Anyway, so there's just that's just the storm. Now, when it comes to Governor DeSantis, he declared a state of emergency well before, just like Florida does. I mean, this is not the first time hurricanes ever hit them.
Oh yeah.
They declare the state of emergency because that's what you have to do in any situation to mobilize FEMA, the Red Cross, or any other like stuff help. Basically,
Right.
You also, as the state, have to sign the orders or release or whatever the term is. I don't really know. Mobilize, give the okay for the National Guard in your state to mobilize and therefore provide assistance or whatever.
And not just in
Okay.
your state, in any state that can provide support. Yeah.
Yeah, that's not a presidential order. That's a state thing.
Yeah.
Now, that Georgia and I think maybe Alabama, Tennessee, and North Carolina also did declare states of emergency for their states because they were predicting this massive flooding that was going to happen because of this Fujiwara effect, not because of just the hurricane. But so they did that already. However, in Georgia, North Carolina, Tennessee, or Alabama, wherever, I do not believe that they did the whole like mobilize the troops situation. They just declared the state of emergency. Okay.
Gotcha.
Now, all of Asheville is not flooded. Some of Asheville is flooded.
Yeah.
The more of what's flooded is cities that are like around it, that are more like in the mountains and a little bit more less accessible by roads than Asheville. I mean, it's just there's a big river. There's Lake Lanier.
There's a lot of mudslides. Yeah.
Well, there's a very large lake there. I think it's Lake Lanier.
I'm not sure.
Isn't Lake Rainier like a mysterious
Lanier.
lake? Like there's a lot of stories.
With the L. L-A.
Lanier.
Lanier, yeah.
I think it's
Isn't
Lanier.
that isn't
If
there a
only
lot?
we had a device that we could look up maps on.
I know, damn it. Ah.
But also, it wasn't. I mean, Asheville is just well known. There's a lot of little places
Yeah, I think
down
that's
there.
that's just like saying, yeah, hey, when I say, hey, I'm from Oakland, California, I'm actually not born in Oakland. I was born in a town called Martinez, but people don't know that. So I just say, yeah, I'm from the Bay Area or Oakland. It's kind of like that.
It's like here in DC, like people don't know that, so I just say I'm from Annandale.
Yeah. But
And then they were like, oh, okay, I know.
I'm from Silver Spring.
Yeah, Silver Spring.
Okay, Lake Lure. Lake Lure. So Lake Lure, Hendersonville. There's another little last town that they keep talking about.
They mentioned one called Blowing Rock because that's like right next to.
I don't think it's Blowing Rock. I think it's something rock or something.
Chimney Rock?
Chimney Rock.
Yeah.
Yeah, something like
I
something
saw some
rock.
video
It's
from-
right next to Blowing Rock. Yeah.
Those are the towns that are completely gone.
Yeah.
Not Asheville. However, again, let's talk about what FEMA does. What is FEMA? The Federal Emergency Management Association, whatever.
Yeah.
FEMA
Words.
FEMA is not the agency that's going to be bringing supplies to people. FEMA is not the agency that is going to be giving folks, even rescuing. I mean, that's not what they do. And I'm not saying that maybe they should do more, but that's not what FEMA is. FEMA is, hey, you were affected by a disaster. Okay, here's some money. You need more housing. Let's figure out how we're going to, get you. Let's build a FEMA village. Let's do that. FEMA is not the rescue and, search and rescue agency. FEMA ain't the food people. FEMA ain't the water, distributors. They're not that's not what that's how they do.
They're the law.
They're not the Cajun Navy. Yeah.
They're just the management of the response. Now, there is a lot of people like on YouTube and stuff. If you watch these YouTube videos of like what's really going on in North Carolina,
Yeah.
they are saying that very similar. It gives Katrina vibes, like it smells like it has a stench of death. It like just, there's, you see something like a vulture swarm or like this swarm of flies like in an area, and it's like you just know that under whatever soot, mud, tree debris, like there's a dead body in there. And so that's why they're saying that they don't really even know what the death toll is right now, because they really just can't get to.
And they potentially could get hit by another one here.
Not in North Carolina.
Yeah, I don't think it's going up there. I mean,
Well,
Yeah, Zeus, we're still talking about North Carolina.
okay, remnants of Milton.
No, Milton's going to go right across the state of Florida. The other
Okay.
way.
how do you know, Desiree?
Well, that's just what they be saying. It could move.
That's on the forecast.
It can move. It can move. Anyway, so that's what they're saying they can't. They don't really know what the death toll is because they're all covered by mud or whatever. Now, these mudslides did cause these roads to just, which I'm sure that they weren't the best, most beautifully built roads to begin with, but these mudslides cause these roads to crumble and deteriorate and have washed the roads away. So these areas that may not necessarily be flooded, they're not accessible. So the residents can't get out to get food, water, diapers, nothing. There's no power. There's no cell service. There's none of that. And because the governor has not, or actually I don't think he even has yet mobilized like the National Guard in that state.
Isn't that curious?
That's a little bit weird. I'm not, again, I'm just saying what's being reported from the ground, that the people are saying this, that they've not seen any, like, where's the Blackhawks? Where's the people helping and like clearing out all this mud so we can find these dead bodies? Where's the National Guard? They ain't there. Now, it has also, somebody had said that the state of Tennessee just sent 700 troops to Kuwait 3 days ago. Why? We don't know. They just did. It was Governor DeSantis. It was Governor DeSantis that literally like a few days ago mobilized the Florida National Guard to go up to North Carolina to help in the disaster relief, search and rescue, whatever.
And then called them back.
And then all of these private helicopters, which I'm like, how many folks out there just be having a helicopter? I want a helicopter.
I know, man. It's the life.
But apparently there's just folks out there with choppers just sitting in the garage.
Now, would news agencies be considered private?
No.
Okay.
No. And that's what I thought. I'm like, there's all these there's police helicopters, there's news helicopters, there's Life Watch like helicopters. Like there's helicopters out there that could, anyway, because these places are not access, like a truck of people can't go up there. A truck of supplies can't go up there. Like it's inaccessible. So it has to be accessible by helicopter, basically. So there is stories of like individuals, just regular folks with a chopper coming in to try to help rescue people from rooftops or bring in supplies. And there was one story I watched where the guy he rescued, there was like a couple in a car, and so he took the wife and he brought her back to like, I don't know, something that he thought from the air was maybe a command post. Brought her there and was going to go get like the husband because he couldn't fit them both in the chopper at the time with all the supplies and stuff. So and of course there's weight things, and anyway, so he brings her back to the command post. There was a firefighter, like a captain or whatever, at this command post, told the guy, hey, you cannot be out here doing this. Like, you will be arrested if you come back here. Well, he's like, well, hold on, no, but the wife, and actually my son's with this person's, or husband, I guess, because he left his son with the husband to take the wife back. And he's like, well, I mean, can I just go get them and I'll leave? I mean, I'll drop so they could be together. And he's like, if you return here, you will be arrested. I'm just saying.
You remember
he goes back. Well, hold on, this is sad. So he goes back to the place because he has to get his son. And he tells the husband, he's like, hey, I am so sorry, but I'm being told that if I take you back, I will be arrested. And he's like, I really don't know what to do. Like, So he
Yeah.
gets his son and he leaves. He had to leave the guy there. And like what he's like, there was no other helicopters around. It's not like I was in an unauthorized airspace just causing issues. Like
Yeah.
what was the problem?
And what's going to happen? You're going to crash and kill somebody? Like they're trying to save all
Yeah,
these
just
people,
yourself.
you know?
You're gonna kill yourself. That's what you're gonna do.
So here's my question. I remember in my youth when like there'd be like these feel good stories about people doing just what this guy did, and it was a big, awesome, like great story about somebody going out of their way to save a life, and now they're being turned away and being treated as villains in some weird way.
Well, so I
I
was
mean,
like,
do you
this.
guys remember like
Yeah, no, I know. Like
Yeah.
think
like
about any other
9/11?
hurricane, like think about Hurricane Harvey, how there was all those stories about civilians just going out in their like little boats rescuing people,
Mm-hmm.
or like any other hurricane going out and rescuing people, or in a tornado, like neighbors going in with their chainsaws and cutting people out of their debris, the rubble of their homes. I mean,
Yeah.
but so I looked a little bit more into this story. I was like, what, why would they do, like, why would they turn away this helicopter that's trying to help? So what the story is, so if you were a helicopter, which the helicopters don't fly, especially the kind that this guy had, it was just like one of those little like me helicopters. It wasn't like a Black Hawk or wasn't like a very large
Well, obviously
aircraft.
it can only hold one person, so
It can hold like four, but like I said, he had a lot of supplies in the
yeah.
helicopter, so I mean, it can only hold so much weight. I mean, it's a small helicopter. So but it's still a flying craft, basically.
Yeah.
So to be flying, yeah, I don't know how many of y'all have your pilot's license, but you have to like basically let people
I
know
don't.
that you're in the air.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, which he said he did let people know that he is in the air because that's like a FAA regulation.
File a flight plan.
Right. However, to be in that particular airspace, you had to have checked in with like I don't know, whoever the managing personnel were of the disaster response, to let them know that you were in the area, so you're not interfering with their rescue plan. But the guy was like,
No one else was
but no one
rescued?
else was there.
Yeah.
So I'm really confused.
Yeah.
So
The
I
only
can
thing I
understand
can
the whole
think of,
FAA thing, but at the same time, it's like right now, you
I
when
can
shit hits
only
the fan,
think
shit
of,
hits the fan. Like you take what you can get. I mean,
I've seen the videos of them. I know they're mobilizing like trucks and putting things together, and maybe they're on their way. Maybe they just wanted everything, the airspace cleared, because they're even though they weren't there yet, they're expecting a lot to start coming in. So they need all these private
7
choppers
days,
to get. I
10
don't know.
days.
That's the
So
only
I
thing I
mean,
can
they're
think of
still
as to
there. I
why
mean,
they would do that.
I know, Tom, I'm with you. Like I'm like, there has to be a reason that they do that, but it's like even now that they, so that was there, that was a story, and then like that guy had said like the next day they started letting like individuals into the airspace that were just civilian with their civilian helicopters.
Oh, they
Yeah,
changed their
it's like,
mind.
so what would like
It's just
the
bureaucracy,
city,
man.
and then there was like the
Yeah.
city manager had come on and be like, well, we don't really know what that person's specific like training in disaster response was, and da da da. And the guy doing the interview was like, well,
Doesn't matter.
what was his? I don't think he got any more training from one day to the next.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I just think it was that like during in these disasters, there's like so much like little bullshit that you have to follow
Yeah.
that seems
I
a
mean,
little bit stupid. And it's like, well, these people are starving, and like they were in their car with 2 bottles of water and 2 bags of chips for 2 days. So I
jeez.
mean, they probably didn't really need to wait another day so they could be rescued. And who fucking knows if they were going to get rescued? They were in the car waving like this on the roof.
Right.
So there have been corroborated stories of pilots and people being reprimanded
Yeah.
for helping. Okay.
Mhm.
I mean, I'd heard that. I didn't know. Again, I don't know what's real. I don't know what's not real. my concern is that I can reasonably see about believing all of it. That's that's what's upsetting to me. Like, I wish it wasn't like that, you know?
Yeah, I know. And it's like, well, I mean, what do you again, there's police helicopters, there's news, every large city has a news helicopter. There's Eagle Med, Life Flight, all these like medevac helicopters out there. I mean, where the fuck are the medevac helicopters? That seems like
Yeah.
the people that you could
I
probably
think
rely on.
I think from one thing I thought about too is, I mean, I remember Katrina very, very well and all the politics around that. You know, I mean, George Bush was on the ground within 48 hours. You know, he told the head of FEMA, you know, you're doing a hell of a job. What was it, Brownie? You're doing a hell of a job, Brownie. And like the news all jumped on, like, can you believe that the president said that the FEMA guy was doing a good job when they're like totally crap in the bed and everyone's dying and the government doesn't know what they're doing and it's like a total disaster in New
Well,
Orleans.
again, it's
And
like,
then
what
this
does FEMA
one,
actually do? I think that
but
people think that FEMA does a lot more than they really fucking do.
no, but I'm just, and I get it, but I'm just saying the contrast
Yeah, it's the
now
same
of
as
how the
if
media is because of who's in charge. It's like, yeah, there's nothing to see here. Everything's fine. And like nobody, I mean, the first week this happened on a Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, um, our president was laying on the beach in Rehoboth. I mean, can you imagine if George W. Bush, and I'm no special pleader for George W. Bush, but if during Katrina, like the first 2 or 3 days, 72 hours, he was like sitting on a beach somewhere. I mean, you would never. I'm just saying there's an obvious
right.
double standard of how this stuff at least gets reported. And because of that, it creates fertile soil for all this other crazy crap to spring up out of there. And I am really curious about the lack of news coming out of there. I'm not saying there's none, but it's like you have to look for it. It's not and I'm talking about in-depth reporting. Like I don't see it. I know I don't. I just don't see it. Do you guys see it? Am I just missing it?
Most of the
No,
stories are on whether or not there's
YouTube's.
misinformation,
Hmm.
Yeah, that's the
not
story.
stories on the
Yeah,
actual event.
And like,
Um,
what is the misinformation? Is the misinformation that okay, FEMA's broke? That's one of them.
they're
FEMA ain't broke.
arguing about that because
yeah.
that they're going back and forth saying no, they're not broke. Yes, they are. No, they're not.
I don't think they're broke. I
Well,
mean,
Mayorkas came out a couple days ago and
They're
said
asking for money.
we don't have enough money for the rest of the hurricane
Right.
season. And 2 months ago he was like, we have tons of money for the hurricane
Right.
season. And then they say, well, it's because you gave a bunch of it to help with the, illegal immigrant crisis. And he's like, no, we didn't. And then they pulled audio where it's like,
There's
we're
yeah,
giving money to help with the illegal immigrant crisis. So it's like, no, you can't. It's all
yeah. So
just crap.
that's one of the thoughts about why maybe there isn't a large National Guard or really at all National Guard presence is because they are using a lot of resources at the border, which it's like,
that's
well,
true.
maybe a hurricane should.
Well, this isn't
Never
necessarily,
mind.
it's not like right at the border, but this is like in communities around the country that because FEMA provides shelter and food.
Yeah.
So they're paying for
Money for food,
the
not food,
rent.
not actual food.
Yeah, they're giving like 2 years of free rent and luxury. Some of these are like luxury apartments furnished, 2 years for free. They're paying for that and they're giving them like cards, like grocery cards, where you can go and buy groceries with these
Oh,
little
you talking
debit
about the
cards.
immigrants?
Yeah.
That's what they get. Okay, I thought you were talking about actual
So
food.
FEMA's providing all this money and all
Oh,
this
I
support
was
to
unaware.
migrants around the
Well,
country.
that would make sense though that money is coming from there because FEMA is part of the Department of Homeland Security,
Yes.
Yeah.
and so it's all the money's in the same department. But
Yeah.
the other kind of thought was, oh, if we're going to give all this money to Ukraine and like why can't we keep it? And I'm not saying, yeah, why the fuck can't we just reallocate some funds, like give that back or take it back or don't give it? But that money actually is not from the same department as Homeland Security
from
that's getting
FEMA.
donated. No, that's getting donated to like Ukraine.
Oh no.
It's from the Department of Defense, I think.
The other thing that's kind of throwing a big wrench in a lot of this stuff too is some of the people that are, I guess, making these accusations or making these claims. they're not just like rando people. I mean, they've got the you know, Musk has said that, he was trying to ship thousands of Starlinks consoles there for internet connection, and they wouldn't let them fly it in because they're
Because
back to
their
what
space
Desiree was saying.
situation.
Well, they were saying you can't just land down on someone's land without getting permission from them or them knowing you're coming. And he's like, but they don't have any communications.
Yeah.
They're trying to
Yeah.
give them communication. I mean, he
Yeah.
was like being
If
interviewed,
they're
Yeah, so the
waving
same
you
thing. So the
from the
same
mud,
thing that
and
that
that's
guy was
Elon
saying.
Musk saying it.
Yeah, that's the
I
same
mean,
thing. So, but now I guess it's a little bit like they have kind of like as lifted those or made it different to where you can actually like, hey, I'm gonna keep, but you still gotta land. So you can't land like on a roadway because there's a fucking
but in an
roadways.
emergency, don't you relax all these rules?
That's what I thought.
that's
I
what
mean,
you
you
would
can't
think.
keep the bureaucracy going when there's an
Yeah.
emergency.
And that goes back to what I was saying about back in the day. People did heroic measures and they were looked at as a positive thing. And now people are trying to do the same thing, and they're balked, they're railroaded, they're sidetracked with all this bureaucracy.
I
Uh,
just to clarify one thing today, as of October 8th, there are civilians in there with their private helicopters helping. They have Starlinks now. I don't know how many, but they got
Yeah.
some Starlinks for some connections. And
What I
maybe
was-
that's why some of this information is able to come out because they got the motherfucking Starlink
Yeah, I mean, what I
in
was
the day,
referring
but
to was from a few days
in the
ago.
beginning, yeah.
I'm just saying we're almost 14
But there's
days
still
out.
no National Guard. They're on
Yeah.
today, the 10th or the 8th of October. There is still no National Guard there, except for
That's
who's coming up from Florida.
That's fishy as hell.
I've
And the
seen a
thing
lot
is-
of guys going in on horseback. They've got like mules carrying
Wow.
supplies. Have
Yeah.
you seen these videos?
No,
I haven't seen the mules, no.
that's
Yeah,
amazing.
mules and horseback.
And the thing is, again, there are people. Of course, there's. I saw this one story and there was someone actually sent me this link, and they're like, FEMA's using helicopters to block runways to keep people from like coming in, and I was like,
I've seen
whoa,
that.
whoa, 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 and I
FEMA
went
doesn't
and I
have any
looked at it.
helicopters.
Well, they were having, yeah, right.
They could
So-
direct somebody to do it.
I looked it up, and it's like this little municipal airport, and they needed a place to put all the helicopters that are flying in, so they picked the smallest runway that they never use and had them all just land on that. I mean, so that was the story, but it gets turned into. But what I'm saying is, again, to get it back to, we're ripe for this, and that's the dangerous thing when you stop having an adversarial press with the powers that be, and you have a press that's like hand in glove with them, because the people, rightfully so, don't trust it anymore. And there's certain times, especially during, catastrophes and say like pandemics, where you really need the people to believe that you have integrity and that what you're saying is in their best interest and true. And that has just been shot to hell in the last 5 years. Like
Yeah.
it doesn't exist anymore. It's like a raw scab. Keeps getting picked. I can't wait to see at least Milton's happening in Florida, because DeSantis at least takes the bull by the horns in these things.
Yeah, even DeSantis was on, and he was like, because so think about Daddy DeSantis coming to the rescue again, okay, y'all. So he had Helene, the port strike,
Oh
and
yeah.
then now Milton. Like boom, boom, boom. He's on top of it all. Like he's like, okay, this is what we're
Well,
gonna do.
He has
He's-
integrity. He cuts through red tape. When the thing is, say what you want about DeSantis, but when he speaks on these issues, people believe him because he's been proven correct. He's done this before.
He's man
You know
of
what
his
I'm
word.
saying? He said, my parents live down there, and they're like 60 miles inland, so they're in no danger.
Where are they?
But Ocala.
Okay, yeah, my mom and sister are in Tampa, and I've got an aunt and a cousin in Deltona, which is basically Daytona,
But-
So
but
is
I'm
your mom
just-
and sister evacuating?
No,
Why?
I heard Tampa's like under
It's
the
ground zero, yeah.
crosshairs. But what I'm
Yeah.
saying is
they're in
DeSantis.
they're in a like a non-flood zone.
What does that mean?
They said it's a
It means
15-foot
that the
surge.
chances of them getting flooded is very low.
Even with a 10 to 12 foot storm surge.
15,
Yeah,
okay.
the bigger worry in her area is the winds. Like I've been all day long telling my mom, tape your windows. At bare minimum, if you can't board them, at least tape them so that
The glass doesn't fly.
yeah, so it'll fly, but it'll be in big pieces rather
She's
than
on the East Coast. Is that what you're saying, Zeus?
Yeah, she's in Tampa.
yeah, Tampa.
No, that's the
No,
West.
West Coast.
Tampa is kind of actually like in the
On the
middle.
Gulf. No,
No, but the person you were describing, they were on the East Coast. You said it was near Daytona.
Oh, that's on the East
Okay,
Coast.
so
But
that's
they
why
live out in the they
they're
live
not
out
evacuating
east.
over there.
What's that?
I said they're not evacuating that area.
Tampa
Right.
Bay, St. Pete is on the water of the Gulf of Mexico.
Yeah.
That's the bay.
Right,
The
that's on the
bay is the
west, yeah, the
Gulf
Gulf
Bay.
side.
Yeah.
And they're
But-
saying that the topography of how the Gulf side is versus the Atlantic side. The Atlantic side, like a couple miles out, the ocean floor just drops and it's deep, whatever. But the bay is
shelf.
like more,
It's shallow
not
all
necessarily
the
the
way.
bay, but the Gulf. It further out, it kind of further out, it kind of bowls inward and then upward to be shallow. So all that, and then there's the bay. So whatever the water coming in is not normally like water comes in, storm surge goes down, comes back out. So this water is going to be trapped
Yeah.
in the bay.
Yeah,
That's what they're saying.
there was I guess a few years ago there was a hurricane in the Tampa area, and my mom
Ian.
described it as like there's this town called Oldsmar. It's near Clearwater countryside, if you know those areas, and it's on the bay. And like they went out there the day before the hurricane hit, and it was like fish flopping up because there was no water there.
Wow.
And then 2 days later, my uncle who lives in Oldsmar, his pool was flooded. Like yeah. So yeah, the surges are weird.
But-
it reminds me of, do you remember that movie Deep Impact where like they're going and standing by the beach and it's like looks like a desert?
Yeah. The water all
And
goes out.
suddenly, yeah. I'm glad I'm not in Florida.
But the reason, just getting back, on DeSantis, one of the things that he said, I think this was yesterday, which I was just like, this is who we want as our leaders or politicians or whatever. He said, listen, Tampa is under, this evacuation order. He's like, you don't need to gas up your car and drive 500 miles. He's like, you just need to drive like 10 miles. Just get away from the water. You know what I mean? And I'm like, thank you, because everybody else tries to turn everything into super drama. He's like, evacuation just means like drive for 15 minutes, stop, you're fine. Like you're still gonna have wind, you are gonna have water, but you're not gonna have 15-foot
Storm surge, yeah.
waves hitting you or anything.
Interesting, like topographical as far as the hurricanes. Tampa is like dead center in between the Gulf and the ocean. So like, I mean, I don't know.
No, it's
enough
on the
about-
water. It's on the water.
It's in the middle. If you want to drive to the East Coast from Clearwater, which is on the
Mhm.
Gulf side, it's about 3 hours, and you get past Tampa at about 2. So
Are
I
you
mean,
saying from the tip of Florida to the
no, I'm saying from East to West Coast.
No, Tampa's on the Gulf Coast. You're
Yeah.
thinking of like Orlando or something.
No,
Orlando's
Orlando is definitely coast.
Tampa's on. No.
Orlando's
Orlando's
dead
more in the
center.
middle.
okay, whatever.
That's where Disney
Hold
is.
the map, guys.
No,
Tampa's
Tampa
on
Bay
the
is definitely
coast.
on
That's
the
why they call
water.
it Tampa
Well-
Bay. There's
Well,
a bay.
the
It's
bay
on the
is on the
bay.
water.
It's on the
Right, that's
bay.
what I'm saying. Between the bay and the,
You said between the Gulf and the ocean.
I'm sorry.
Right, but that's what I'm saying. Like, so because of like the topography, like there's that bowl, and then there's the bay.
You guys see it?
The bay fills,
It's
and then
on
the water
coast.
cannot come back out of the bay once
This
it
is-
has surged.
Yeah, so this is the water, and the water's going to go into. You guys see this?
Yeah.
And there's Tampa. So yes, if you're looking here, I got what you're saying. St. Petersburg is here, but it is right. It's going to be affected directly with the storm surge because it's
Yeah.
right here on the water.
And interestingly, I wonder how this will
This is
play out.
Ocala
There's
up
an-
here.
There's an international airport there. I wonder how that'll play out.
What do you mean?
Kissimmee.
They're gonna block it with helicopters.
Just in general,
Oh.
like it's an international airport, so
Probably gonna shut the airport down.
But
I
all
mean,
the see how
just
low.
like they did in Ian.
Yeah, this whole coast here, from like Cedar Key to Sarasota, is gonna really get cleansed, man. I mean, it is just gonna get. I'm just
Well,
saying.
So okay, so let's transition to Milton real fast. Okay, so all the things that they're saying about Milton, what have you guys? This is the worst hurricane that's ever been fucking a hurricane. Whatever, y'all have been hearing all
It's
that.
never been a hurricane. Yeah.
The hurricane of all hurricanes.
Yes.
Like you guys seen all those like stories?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's take a rewind back to
The one
reality.
with the weatherman crying. Did you
I
see
heard
that?
about that.
This
Yeah.
is
You gotta watch that. Sorry, go ahead, Des.
that's a lot. I mean, that's doing the most. Crying. Come on. Anyway, so Milton, as of October the 8th.
what a horrible
Currently.
name for a hurricane, by the way.
I like it. I like
Milton.
Milton.
It doesn't sound very intimidating.
Isn't that the stapler guy?
Yes, yes.
The stapler guy.
Swing line stapler. This is my swing line stapler. I'm gonna burn the whole place down.
Yeah.
Yeah. Office
Yeah.
space.
What's the next one after Milton?
I don't know.
Dang, like I think it was Leslie that just happened. Well, Leslie's still out there.
No,
I don't know if the
it's gotta be a
but-
letter N, obviously.
yeah, like what's like Nathan?
Do they do? No, they go boy, girl, right?
Okay, so what's Natalia?
Nancy.
Ooh, that would have been a bad one.
Natasha. Hurricane Natasha.
2024
I'm seeing if I can.
hurricane names.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah, 'cause
they
they
plan
pre-
these names out in advance, right?
Yeah, they pre-publish them. Let's see if I can.
Nadine. Damn. Okay. So listen, this is kind of crazy. This is even crazier than all the stuff I'm about to say. So Helene hit like last week, 2 weeks ago. Now we're on Milton. Between all of that, there has been Isaac, Joyce, Kirk, and Leslie already happened somewhere.
Wow.
Jeez.
They probably petered out somewhere.
They're out in the. Well, I think Isaac hit. I think that's Gordon. No, Isaac hit like right there. It was a super quick one.
Crazy.
Okay.
Now weather is fucking with the world.
Just now.
So this could have been. You think Nadine would have been a better name for this one? That's where I'm getting at with that.
Nadine.
Nadine's a
Milton.
name.
Well,
Milton.
I don't know. I like Milton. I don't mind Milton. There's been some stupid ass hurricane names out there.
I'm
Hurricane
just
Joyce.
hoping we have a Hurricane Zeus.
I know you should write him a letter.
There's been a Michael. Michael was not good.
Has there been a Tom?
I think they retired Michael now.
Yeah, I don't know if they normally get that far in the alphabet.
Well, there's never been a Hurricane Desiree, so that's unfortunate. Because that'd have been a bitch.
10 to 15 foot storm surge right here in that's bananas, man. That's just crazy.
Okay, so Milton. They're saying this is gonna be like
Cyclones,
this is
dude,
the worst
cyclones.
hurricane that's ever been a hurricane, right?
Yeah.
Here's the facts. So as of last measurement, it was measured at 902 millibars by the Hurricane Hunter aircraft.
Mm-hmm.
That was a couple hours ago.
Mm-hmm.
And so the strongest hurricane that's been in the Gulf on record, not
the
ever,
lower,
not
the,
ever, not
the
ever.
lower the worst, right? The lower the middle.
worst. So the worst one that's been on record is Hurricane Rita, which is 2005.
Wasn't that right after Katrina?
Yeah, so it was 2005.
It was right behind Katrina. It
Yeah,
was
so
like a couple weeks later.
Hurricane Rita is the number one strongest hurricane that's been in the Gulf on record. Okay, so
Okay.
this is not the strongest one that's ever been. It's actually now number 2 because yesterday it was measured at 897 millibars. Hurricane Rita was measured at 895 millibars. So
But they'll parse it and they'll say it's the worst one to hit Florida because, of course, Rita hit Houston.
yeah, they're saying all that shit. I mean, but
I think one of the worst ones that hit Florida, the damage it did was Hurricane Andrew. That
was horrible.
yeah, but where did
devastating.
Andrew come from?
It came from like the Miami area. up
Okay,
and
so
in.
that's the Atlantic. That's
Yeah.
not the Gulf. So I mean, when they're saying like it's statistics could be like spun any way you want to make it really bad. But
They're convenient.
the
Yes.
fact is when they're saying that this is the worst hurricane that has ever been hurricane, it is not true. It is only
But-
technically true as of a Gulf hurricane. It is the
And
second
it's also
strongest Gulf
bouncing
hurricane on
between
record. That is true.
5 and a 4 constantly.
It's
I've
what?
seen 5, I've seen 4, I've seen 5, I've seen 4.
Well, because it was a 5 yesterday. It was downgraded to a 4 because the underwent eyewall replacement, and then it's now currently a 5.
And then,
But even
well,
when it was a 4,
if
it was a high end 4.
and if it's a 5 outside of hitting land, it's going to be a 4 by the time it hits land.
The forecasts are saying it's going to be a 3, but who
Better
am I?
get this posted quick.
Well,
This thing's
so
going to hit before we post it. But well, I mean, so here's the thing with the media stuff. Do you guys anticipate a similar thing happening? Because again, it's still the same people in charge. We're still in election season. It's still the same media, blah blah blah. So will Milton have the same sort of crazy news cycle that Helene has?
well, you
or
got to think the only
not?
reason Helene's having the media is not covering the North Carolina part. And I don't know if that's because when you think of a hurricane, you don't think of North Carolina. So does it matter? I don't know. Did it get overshadowed by the newest story, which is Milton? I don't know. But I mean, there wasn't even really a lot of coverage from the aftermath of Helene in Florida.
But I'm saying, but Helene is going to end up, if it's not already, the deadliest hurricane since we've kept records.
Well,
As far
I
as
mean,
number of
Katrina
people
was.
killed. No, it's going to be Katrina.
Why? Is that what the media is saying? I mean, we don't know that for sure.
That's what
just
I've
a
heard.
speculation. That's a
No.
speculation. Right now, it's 228 deaths have been confirmed. I mean,
How-
yes, they are saying all those people are buried in sand, buried in trees, but
I'm saying it has a potential.
a potential, yeah.
How many people died in Katrina?
But let's-
1392. So yeah,
Was
they
it-
are a long way away.
Who is in charge of saying, yes, those were actually the remnants of Helene, or it was that other low pressure system that combined with the Hurricane Helene remnants and caused that flooding? I mean,
Has it escaped anybody what a complete weather nerd Desiree is?
I love it. It's great.
well, I mean,
Great.
kind of need to be. I live in a place where you need to be weather aware.
But
Well-
you know, I was talking about it with Tom also. Again, back to the choreography versus conspiracy. If a tornado hit in a particular part of Kansas where a certain resource was, are we worried that suddenly that becomes an unlivable area? Because that's what I wanted to talk about.
What do you mean?
This is.
Well, I don't know. Oh, okay. So back
Hold
to the
on. Let
resources.
me.
I know what you're talking about. Yeah, go ahead.
My thoughts are, again, and it leans a lot into the choreography versus conspiracy thing, is that, you know, so what if Tampa becomes an unlivable area and they can just start buying up? It feels like Maui all over again.
Yeah. So what's in Tampa though that you can really? What's a resource in Tampa? Sand.
It's a huge. I mean, their biggest income in Florida is tourism.
Okay, but that's not a natural resource.
Yeah, I agree.
In Kansas, we got soybeans. You can regrow them, and it's not
Fair
gonna.
enough. But
So
I just feel like people are learning to capitalize on things as they hear they're coming and looking at resources and how they can benefit from it.
So that's
yeah.
a good point, though, Zeus. So they're saying that there's a lot of oil, and there's two very large lithium deposits in that area of Asheville, which is the foothills, if you will, of the Appalachians. So two things. Number one, I'm not saying I agree with what I'm about to say, but I'm going to say it.
That
When you think of people and who would be people that the government should want to or would want to help more, is it the people of the Appalachians?
no.
Because those seem to be always the people that are forgotten and that are left for left behind.
There's a term I've heard before. They're the less than.
Yes, yeah. And I'm that seems so terrible to say, but
No,
I
I mean,
don't
there's
feel
a
that they're
long
less
history
than. I
of
feel
it.
like every human life is precious,
right,
but
but I'm just saying, like when you think
from a
of
societal aspect,
yeah.
they're the less than. They're the uneducated,
But
the unwashed,
I
the
mean, I
unclean.
know I work with a person that grew up in West Virginia that grew up without running water and electricity because they
Mhm.
didn't have it. It wasn't like a not because they didn't pay the bill. They didn't have the plumbing.
Yeah.
And this is
Yeah.
Appalachia. So I
And,
mean,
and if you look at like Asheville blowing right, Asheville was a pretty. I'm saying was like they're not going to be again, but Asheville is a pretty well
Yeah, dude.
placed community. It's a big city in northern
right. And
North
if
Carolina.
you read all these stories about the North Carolina folk, every story that's come out of Asheville of a person that was affected by the flooding will actually say they were fortunate because they live in the affluence of Asheville, which that's not affluent, but when you compare it to like the deep backwoods of Appalachia.
Yeah, no, Asheville is a very touristy town. Like where I stayed when I was down there was Blowing Rock, which is 1 mile away from Asheville. It's a suburb of Asheville. And it's a really nice area. It's like I'm not going to call it Lake Tahoe East Coast or anything, but it's pretty nice.
And they're saying that in these hills there's people that purposely live off the grid. So they're up there and people don't even know they're living there.
Mhm.
And then there's like homeless encampments that they have just been dotted and tinted up, and who even knows what happened to them. But anyway, so that's this just from a societal standpoint, the people that live up there. So they're quote unquote the less thans. Then there's all these resources up there that not necessarily the government, but businesses like, I don't know, what's it, what's a big oil and gas company, ExxonMobil.
Yeah.
That maybe ExxonMobil got a little word of it and is like, hey, they send their lobbyists to the Congress and it's like, if you don't send nobody up there, we can buy up that land, we can get some gas or oil, whatever it is.
But
I don't know who's in charge of the lithium, but
a lot of those homes in the poorer areas of Western North Carolina there, from what I've read, they are land rent. So people own their homes, but a lot of people don't own the land they're sitting on. And when their homes get wiped out, they pretty much have nothing.
right.
But a lot of this too, I think, is influence. I think a lot of these conspiracy theories and things being reported from Helene, they come right from the experience that we saw in Maui with the fires. There was a lot of mistrust. There were people that followed what the government said and ended up dead.
Palestine,
Ohio.
Yeah.
I mean,
I really
this is a track record. This is not out of the blue. There's nothing special about this situation. We include Palestine and then Maui. This is like the third one just in this administration where
and maybe a fourth coming up.
it just seems like a lot of hinky stuff and really mismanagement and lack of trust, like really lack of trust from
And
people.
that's what muddies the whole waters is maybe we are completely speculating off the grid, like
Of course,
way wrong.
probably. Yeah.
But our trust in our government has been so damaged that
That's the story.
yeah, I mean, if the word is true, North Carolina around the Asheville area is the second largest lithium deposit in the world. And it's also a huge silica provider, which is what we use for microchips. You know what I mean? Or silicon chips. And if that's true, why wouldn't they try? I mean,
Zeus, I'm with you. I don't think that this was a man-made hurricane sent in and
No,
this
not at all.
flooding was created so that these companies could get. I don't believe any of that shit. However, maybe
Why not capitalize? Again, choreography versus conspiracy. The music
Yeah.
is playing and now they're just dancing to it. Like, here's how I picture it. you got your whatever room in the government where it used to be, how do we solve this problem? And now instead they're like, okay, what does Asheville, North Carolina provide? Can we capitalize on this? And you know what I mean? And that's my fear. And that's worse than conspiracy, because at least conspiracies, you can catch somebody. There's a paper trail. But if you're doing it from the outside going in, that's the frightening thing.
Yeah.
So in Maui, they really did like buy up all that land. Who was it that bought the land?
Oprah.
Really? Oh.
No, I don't know. I mean, we need to do a follow-up on that because I don't know. I mean, I followed it for a while and then I just didn't. I don't know what the current situation is there. I really don't. But but not to cut this short. I did kind of want to keep it a little short because we want to get this posted. But I do have to get going.
Okay.
But next week we're gonna be talking about something fun, and then the week after that we'll do our Halloween.
What are we talking about next week?
We'll figure that out.
Oh.
Tom,
Probably...
you got a show?
Yeah, just want real quick about the $750. I don't think we got to that.
Oh
did we?
yeah.
Oh yeah.
No. That was one of the big myths. People were saying, okay, if you take that $750, you got to pay it back. If you don't pay it back, they're going to take your land and your house.
Holy crap. I didn't know that. I didn't hear that.
So I looked it up. It turned out, well, if you can trust the reports, they're saying that that's not the case. It's just a regular assistance payment. You keep the $750. And they made sure to point out also that the $750 wasn't necessarily the limit of what you could get. You could get more, but you would have to apply for additional money.
It's like a stopgap. It's like a stopgap.
So basically, the
just to get you going.
The $750 is like an emergency. Like, hey, you applied. A day later, you're gonna get this money in your bank account, so you can buy food, diapers, water, whatever it is,
and you don't have to pay it back.
Yeah, it's like not a.
That was a lie.
And you can
misinformation.
And you can go down to the bottom of the waterfall with your shovel and dig out the ATM to get your money out after you deposit your.
Well, yeah, and so
the store is closed. I don't know where you're going to spend the $750.
But then with the Starlinks,
I heard they weren't letting him come in with the Starlinks.
Well, we already talked about that, but it's like how. Yeah, you can apply for this assistance. You can apply for this. Well, you do got to plug it in. You can apply for. Yeah, that they can't get to them. But anyway, you got to apply for this assistance, and then you got to apply for the emergency aid, and then you have to apply for the housing assistance afterwards. Okay, how the fuck are you going to do that if you don't have
any connection? Well, I mean, and all the grocery
Starlinks
stores
can't get to you.
I mean, it's not like all the grocery stores are wiped out, so you can just call DoorDash. So that's good, or maybe not.
You don't have a door anymore.
Well,
no doorbell, no dashers.
Here's the part that offends me more than anything about this, and I am sympathetic to the people coming across the border in general. I'm not saying that there aren't definite problems with it, but how is it that people are coming into the country, not citizens, and they get $6,500 for breaking the law, and then we've got American citizens that are getting $750, and the word was, and maybe you talked about it, Tom, but the word was it's a loan.
No,
we just talked. Were you here?
The only loan is
covered that.
The only loan involved in anything is the Small Business Association, which they can apply for, but that is a loan. So you get the emergency $750, and then you can get up to $42,000 in housing recuperation.
But regardless, $6,500 for people that have not done an ounce of work, anything in this country, and then the people that are suffering from this country get $750. It's $750
an
is
emergency aid
insult.
It's just but it's emergency funds. So emergent, like right now, I need diapers, I need formula, I need water, I need food. Here's $750. We'll worry about this stuff here in a week. Like that's what that money is for.
That's fair.
I do know this because I know people that went through that Greensburg tornado, and there was a big FEMA response out there. Those people lived in FEMA trailers for years. I mean, ugh.
Jeez.
So I'm not saying the 750 is like it's gonna be a while before they get their house money.
Right.
That's true. But what Zeus is saying, and I agree with Zeus, and the government has created this storm by doing
Whoa.
this, by
Wait, did
giving
you
all
say
this
they control the
money.
weather?
Yeah, Tom's
Yeah.
falling in with that. Okay.
They gave the money to the immigrants, and now, I mean, just the optics of it, that they
No,
gave
yeah, no,
out
I get it.
all this money to migrants, and whatever the reasons are, I mean, that's a different show. I think we've probably talked about why they're doing it,
You know what?
but
You know
just
what?
the
Here's what
optics
you
of
do.
it.
You take them from the border and you send them to Asheville and have them build
Clean
houses.
up. Fuck yeah.
Fuck yeah.
All right.
All right,
I think
Mike,
it's about that
do you
time.
know the words? Do you know the words that Jack would say at this point?
Well, I think it's about that time. We've been on long enough, and I think it's time that we wrap it up.
All right.
Bye.
Good
All
night,
right.
everybody.
Good night, guys.